5 to 8 inches, the weatherman said. Usually that means 2 to 3 inches is more likely. But this time it was 14 inches of snow, and unfortunately the power has been out most of the day. So today for Hook of the Week, we are going to make a hook that I guarantee you will not use any electrical power unless I have to start the generator, and I really don't feel like wallowing through the snow out in front of the shop to start the generator. But I think we will take the largest piece of material remaining in our bucket, and we are going to make a hook out of this. What I have in mind with this piece of bar is to split it from both ends, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it solid in the middle for about, inch and a half, something like that. And then we're going to open it up. This won't be like a blacksmith's cross because we aren't crossing in the middle, so it's not going to create a hole. Instead, that will create a standoff. And I hope this makes more sense when we get over to the anvil. I understand what I'm talking about. Hopefully you will by then too. We'll start this just by splitting the hook down the middle. I'm going to split it from both sides. And this may take several heats to get through this bar. I want to establish my line first, and then it's easier to come back and finish the split after you've got the line established nicely. I can go a little bit deeper with this heat. I don't want to go any deeper than about halfway though, since I do want to cut from both sides. I need to run a little bit further too, because I'm not quite to the length I want. Also a good time to check and make sure you're centered. If you're not, steer it back. Go ahead and flip this over and try and make up for my misalignment in the first cut by matching it on this one. It's going to be a little bit hard to get everything lined up because I was off center. But if I keep the mass the same when I forge this flat, we should be okay. Cool your chisel every now and then. This one's made from S7, so it does pretty well in the heat, but not everything will. Know your tools and treat them accordingly. Before you cut all the way through, put a cutting plate down so you don't hit your chisel against the anvil. It's hard on both pieces. So we're getting that cut through. Let me turn this over again and work some from the first side. But hopefully you're getting the idea here. I need to cool that holdfast off. It's starting to pick up some heat. That's pretty much what I want for the time being. That's going to take a lot of hot filing or grinding if you have the electricity, but without electricity today, we'll probably hot file it. I'm going to split the other side. And for this side, I'm going to go 90 degrees to the first split and try to do a little bit better job of keeping this centered. Don't cut too far. I can go quite a bit further though. And again, I don't want to cut all the way through at this point. A lot of radiant heat coming off of this. I'm going to go to wearing a glove since I'm holding the chisel right over the hot spot here. Or my hand is right over the hot spot. This cut needs to run a little further up to match that one. It's getting close to being ready to break through. We'll just cut that another 1/4 inch or so there, and I think those will line up. So that's starting to break through now. It's a pretty low heat. I'm not doing as much cutting as I am just actually splitting. It kind of tears the thin web in between the material and gets through that last little bit pretty easy. So that's cut completely through. I'm going to put this in the vise and use my chisel to open that up some. This also gives you a good chance to make sure the bottom of your cut is even. And now it's time for hot rasping. This goes pretty quick compared to filing cold, but with this big a cut, and cuts on both sides, it is going to take a while and several heats. So I'll meet you right back here when I'm done with this. That took about 15 or 20 minutes or so between heating and filing, or rasping. But that cleans up that burr. I'm not really worried about the profile of the material. I don't mind the bevel the chisel leaves. That adds character. And we're going to do some more forging anyway, so the profile is going to change. Now the splits are not exactly equal. I'm going to start with the shorter side for the first part of this hook. And I'm just going to forge this out and let it spread. We may do some more filing to clean up the ends and kind of round them off some, but we'll see what we can do right here at the anvil. I'm just going to finish one arm of this, and then I'll turn it around and do the other arm. It's real important on hooks not to have sharp points or edges or anything else, because people tend to hang clothes on these and you don't want to snag anybody's clothes. So it's worth taking a little time to clean up the edges. I want to make the other one a fairly close match. On this hook, or on this side of the hook, my split is actually going to be towards the wall. These are the arms the hook will mount with. So that split side won't show no matter what. Just still want to do a good job cleaning up the burr. So if those have to be up against the wall, I have to flatten them out some. I'm not going to worry about trying to bring my split all the way down to the wall. I don't think it needs it. If that's important, you'll have to do that, but it's real easy to get these kind of too sharp and kinked in the middle when you do that, so be careful. And since we're working without electricity today, and we don't have a drill, I suppose I could use a battery-operated portable drill, but we'll punch holes anyways. I'm going to start punching from the back side. I think right about there will work well. That's because what will be the front side is now against the smooth part of the anvil. But when I come up here to the pritchel hole, the pritchel hole sometimes leaves a funny mark on the back of the piece, a little scarring. And I would rather have that against the wall than out where I can see it. So there's our first hole. Now the second hole I want to try and make the same distance from the middle. I'm just eyeballing, I didn't bother to measure it. This is kind of an awkward thing with this centerpiece standing up. Make sure you don't hit your hand on it or let it roll over and land against your arm or something like that. Now I am torn between finishing this half of the hook or leaving it like that and doing this so that they both kind of progress symmetrically. But I'm going to go ahead and try and finish this so I don't have to come back to this side unless it's just really important. I do want to know if these are the same length, and they are exactly the same length, so it doesn't matter which I make up and which I make down. And hopefully in a minute this is going to make more sense to you. I'm going to put this in the vise so that my hole is clamped down there with enough room for the head of the bolt. Guarantee it stays on a flat portion of the hook. And we've done this with a lot of hooks. Bring that forward like that. And this will be the top hook. Kick that end out a little bit, and that's really all I need to do to that. I'm going to put a little matching curve on the other hook. We'll put this in our hook bending jig. I hope I've got enough room to get this bent up the way I want it. Not bad. That's why I often make these different lengths, because the bottom hook takes more material to roll up nicely, but I think that's going to work okay. So that sits up against the wall and mounts to the wall, and we've seen hooks like this before, but we got these other two arms we got to deal with. Now we need to open this up. Probably be easier to take it to the vise, drive that chisel down it again, but I'm here, so we'll do it this way. This is a little hard to hold on to because of the T-shape. I don't have exactly the right pair of tongs. And since I probably won't be making a lot of hooks like this, I'm not going to take the time to make another pair of tongs. But this is essentially what we did to the other side, just a little bit more awkward to hold on to. I do want the ends to come out looking essentially the same. If you want to do mix and match and do something different, you certainly could. Stay real aware of all these things sticking up. Make sure your hammer is away from that and you're not hammering close to that. You don't want to hit that with your knuckle. Again, make sure there's no sharp edges. Arm look the same. And since the chiseled side will be out, it's okay to leave a little bit of a bevel in there or some sign that it was chiseled instead of bandsaw cut. But by the time you're done shaping it, there may not be much of it left to worry about. Just keep your eye open for possibilities. And unlike the first side where unequal arms works out okay, here I want to keep these equal. 7 inches and 7 inches. So we're ready to shape hooks in those, just like we did on the other ones. Roll that out lightly there. Put it in our hook jig. And bend that up. This doesn't make much sense yet, but I think I have a plan. We'll see if it's a good plan. Do both ends exactly the same. Makes an interesting little heart shape, which has nothing whatsoever to do with what I'm going for. I'm going to put this in the vise with those up. I think we're going to have to get a heat further back on this. Problem is, this doesn't fit in the gas forge very well anymore. I don't know if we can get it in there now at all or not. We may be down to all torch work, but we will see. Yes, I think we are down to just using a torch to finish this. I'm not real sure what this is going to look like. I'm going to do kind of a funny bend in here and let it just kind of do what it wants to do. And that may look good, and it may look really weird. Not so bad. Do the same thing on both sides. This won't be a nice sharp corner, and it kind of puckers up here, so it's a little bit different than a very refined bend. An oddball thing to try and get into work on. I'd have to think of some better approaches to this if I was going to do this kind of a hook all the time. But that's the general idea of what I'm going for here. Well, that's the first time I've ever made a hook using that kind of a technique, and I think it's got some real potential. Ideally, I think these arms should be a little longer to get these front hooks out further, and maybe they should even kind of S-curve back and touch the wall, and they could have another bolt hole possibly. I don't know, play with the idea, see what you think, but I think there's some real potential to this. And it was kind of a fun hook to do, and it was a completely non-electric hook other than the batteries and the lights and the cameras. I will say that if the power goes out regularly where you live, having an atmospheric gas forge or a solid fuel forge with a hand crank blower so you're not dependent on electrical current to work comes in kind of handy. That's one reason I'm a little nervous about the ribbon burner forge project, because it will require electricity. But if I keep the chili forge around, I could always bring it in during a power failure. But the power is still out. The sun has gone behind the trees on the west side of the shop, so the shop is completely in shadow. There's snow over the skylight, so there's no light coming in that way. We've got light from the windows, light from the video lights, and the batteries on those are going to go dead any minute now. So I'm going to head back in the house, light a fire in the wood stove, maybe put some candles in the miner's candlesticks and stick them in some of the log walls, and we'll just have a pleasant, relaxing evening around the house and hope the power comes back on before tomorrow. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell next to the subscribe button and you'll get notified when I make new videos. Stick around, watch a few of the other videos, share the videos with your friends. If you'd like to support the channel financially, there are links in the video description for both PayPal and Patreon. Those are merely donations. The content is free and will remain free. In the meantime, get out to your shop, make something, stay safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next one.